Well, here I am in Virginia still. I've got a number of meetings coming up in the next few weeks, really. If you go online, deanbraxton.com, you'll see where I'm going to be in the next few weeks in a number of places, to be honest with you, throughout the United States. But I really want to talk about the next chapter that's in Heaven, Experiencing the Throne of God. I got to reach the book down here. Uh, and it's called, in chapter 16, it's called Worship Before the Throne of God. And it talks about what it was like for me to be there in heaven with all of God's creation, to come around the throne of God and tell him how much we love him. Now, I took that chapter and I made it into a book called Deep Worship in Heaven, which talks about the very things that I talked about in this chapter, but in more detail. It went into it in more detail, the things I experienced. But one of the things that really got me when I was there was I came to understand a rest that I had pursued most of my life as a Christian. To the point even when I decided I probably couldn't reach it, so I stopped it, pursuing it. And then I found out later on, when I was there with the Father and Jesus, that that rest was really in worship. Worshiping God, it brings rest in our lives. You know, I like what I found out in Hebrews, the 4th chapter, the 8th through the 12th verse. I'll read it for you. It says, "For if Joshua had given them rest, then he would not afterwards have spoken of another day. There remaineth therefore a rest for the people of God. For he who has entered his rest has himself also ceased from his works as God did from his. Let us therefore be delighted to enter that rest, lest anyone falls according to the same example of disobedience. For the word of God is living and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword." The bugs around me. "Any two-edged sword, piercing even to the division of the soul and the spirit, and the joints and the marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart." Well, I came to understand this word worship here is really a word, or rest here really is a word for worship in the Sabbath. It's a word of Sabbath, but it's more than just a word of Sabbath. It's really the word that means to worship of Sabbath, and not to worship the Sabbath day, but the process of when you're in rest with God, you are worshiping him. I thought that was really something, because that was something I had been seeking most of my Christian life, and here it was. As simple as that. Just enter into the worship with God, and I would be in that rest. I mean, that is good news there, you know. And so I just really found out that the rest, and I love spending time with my Father in worship. Now, I found out true worship is doing the will of God. And so I'm worshiping him constantly in a number of things I do. But there are those times when I come together with other brothers and sisters to tell our Father how much we love him in song and in praise. And that's worship too. And, you know, it's a form of worship. You know, I like Psalms, the 23rd chapter, this 1 through 16, what it says here. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table." Airplane going over. "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever." That's rest right there. Well, if you want more information about the ministry and what we do and where we're going, go to deanbraxton.com. If you like this video, I'm going to tell you to send it to somebody else. Let them hear what true rest is. It's worshiping the Father and with everything we have. You know, in Psalms, the 23rd chapter, 1 through 6, I love that last part. "And we shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever." If you don't think there's going to be rest there, then you don't know where rest is. Again, this is Dean Braxton. Go to deanbraxton.com. If you like this, put like on it. Send it to others. It's just been great doing these. Again, this is Dean Braxton. Go to deanbraxton.com.